morning and afternoon, everyone. I'm Stuart Blumenthal. I'm the Intacct Practice Director here at ETHOSystems, and I'm happy to present all the new changes that are coming into effect on this Friday or tomorrow for the 2025 R1 release. Just a quick couple logistics. Presentation is only going to be about 20 minutes today. Primarily just working off our PowerPoint. The phone lines are all muted. If you have any questions, please use the questions feature. And if you want a copy of the PowerPoint when we're done, just like normal, just let me know. Happy to send that out over to you later today, the copy of the PowerPoint here. Couple upcoming trainings. So next week we're doing a tips and tricks on Velexio. Velexio is a third-party solution, just to make sure that everyone's aware of that. Basically it's an Excel add-in that links Sage Intacct to Excel real time. So you put in formulas in Excel and it pulls Sage Intacct data. So we're going to be doing some tips and tricks for that product next week. And then the following month, we are doing a Sage Intacct SFO, Sage Field Operations tips and tricks, kind of going through some of the cool things how that product works with Sage Intacct. That is also another product, probably might not be part of your subscription. So just again, I don't want you being caught off guard, like joining that and saying, oh, what, that's additional cost. I want to be upfront with regarding that. However, our coolest training is coming back. Last year, we did an amazing training in Phoenix at Chase Field at the ballpark, where we had a day before, we had a game at a baseball game. We had a suite, and then the next day we had the stadium to ourselves. And I will tell you, it was amazing. And it was a really great training. We had Sage there, we had our consultants there, and we had a lot of great clients fly in for this event. That's why we put the day before, the pre-networking day, on there. So that is back. With vengeance. We're going to be doing this on April 9th and April 10th. The main event is April 10th. So mark your calendars. You'll be getting some emails about this. If you want to get signed up quickly, and the sooner you get signed up, the better chance it is to get box seats. And it's very reasonably priced. We're not making a profit on this. Our goal is to make sure we're training clients. And so if you guys are interested, please feel free to sign up. If you need the link, or if you don't get it, just send me an email. I'll be happy to send that link out. But should be a great event, and it's in April, so hopefully the weather in Phoenix is not over 100 degrees yet. And by the way, the stadium's all closed, so you're set. So let's just jump into it. We're going to go over the new features and then hit the Q&A. One other thing, if you need any help with any of the configuration changes, please contact our support. As everyone knows, right off your menu, under dashboards, it says ETHOSystems support. That creates a support ticket, and we can help you with any of the new features, or if you're in middle of implementation, please contact your primary consultant, because there are some changes to the setups. The last thing before I get into the actual detail of the features, I'm going over the ones that pertain to construction clients. There might be some additional changes that I don't go over today that might that are being released, but might not apply to us. So I'm not going to go over every single release feature, just the ones that apply to our construction clients the most. Oh, and then, sorry, I keep saying one more thing. And then just to note, the release schedule for 2025 for Sage has changed. Usually it was the third Friday of the month. As you can see, tomorrow is the release, and then May 9th, August 8th, and November 7th. So you can see it's a little bit changed for this year. They brought them up a little bit. So just keep those dates on your calendar. Usually around 8 p.m. Pacific time. That's usually when you get kicked out on a Friday evening. Just be aware of that. So first thing that they've added, one of the cool features they added in a previous release is something called joint checks. You have to turn that feature on. So that is a feature you have to turn on. But with this release, what they've done is that they have the ability, they have added under the purchase order, you'll see my purchase order here, transactions, posting detail history. I got two other tabs, one compliance, but the next one is secondary vendors, where you can come in and enter your secondary vendors here, and that way you can take it from here and then populates over into the invoices at that point. Can be added. One things I love is that it can be added to the document when it's in pending, partially converted, or converted state, which is kind of cool. And users with permissions to create or edit purchase orders will be able to add the secondary vendors to the tab. So again, new tab for secondary vendors, you add that information and that will flow over to accounts payable and follow that process. But you have to turn on joint checks in your entire system overall. And if you have questions on that, you could watch the video from last quarter. I can also send you some documentation on that. One of the other things they've added was compliance custom field. So as you know, they've added compliance over the last year, and they are adding additional features to it. But one of the ones that we've been really needing is some custom fields, so we can create some smart rules and events and things like that around that and track additional information. So you're able to, once you create those custom fields, then when you're going into the compliance type area, you can say, okay, this custom field applies to this compliance type versus a different compliance type. So if you're doing licensing versus W-2s versus insurance expiration, insurance documents, you can create your own custom fields at that point now, and then you can apply those to those different license types. So that's and it's helping out. We've got one project right now that we're waiting for, so we're excited that we can finish rolling out some of the compliance requests for their lien waivers based upon this information here. The next thing they have turned on or added is they keep on adding something called 360-degree views, where all the information's on one screen. That has always been, the feedback's always been, hey, I'm tired of going from screen to screen to find additional information. So you can see mine now. I've turned on every single tab, and on the project, I can now have the project, additional information, resources, project summary, cost codes, estimates, purchase commitments, and now, and then we have, change management from last time, and then project contracts and project invoices on this one. So you can see your contracts under projects now, they're linked, and then you can also see your project invoices, which are huge. So you don't have to go to another screen for that. So project contracts and invoices, and you have to turn those on. So if you're like, hey, I'm not even getting this change management today, it's because you didn't go into the setup options from the last release and turn those on. So when you on Saturday or on Monday, you have to wait till Monday. On Monday, go into purchase order, go into configuration, and scroll down, and you could choose which tabs you want to turn on for your project screens, and this will help out tremendously. I'm really excited about this one. One of the other things that they're really doing is under project contracts, and sorry, this screen's a little bit dark on the right, but under project contracts, we also have something called source and attachments. This is where you could put in things like timesheet entries, expense reports, purchase transactions. People want to see everything together for documentation and for billing purposes, especially for time and billing purposes. So what you have the ability to do is you're able to put all the source documents together, and then you can actually create a downloadable zip file, and then have that users can have access to have an email template of that attachment. So they're trying to be able to group all your documents together under this source and attachment tab now under the project contracts. If you're not putting your documents into the system, if they're somewhere out of OneDrive and they're not linked, you're not really using the efficiency of the system. And that's where Sage wants you to have everything in here. So it doesn't make a difference where you're working from. You've got everything in one place, all your documents in one place. One of the last change, or one of the other changes under WIP management is that they have added some additional GL accounts for those who are running the WIP management and having it calculate over and under billings. There are now you can have costs in excess of billings, costs in excess of costs, billings in excess of costs. I'm sorry, said that wrong. And then the offset account. So now they have broken this out further based upon feedback. So after this release, if you're using the WIP management features, make sure you go into project configuration, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen, and make sure your GL accounts are filled in the way you want them to be filled in, especially if you want to have costs in excess of billings being broken out differently from billings in excess of costs. So again, that's something that should be changed after the update this weekend. I'm not going to go line by line on here, but these are some of the other changes. So these are based upon feedback that Sage has gotten from us and from other partners and from end users. So now project contracts now allow for the user to reduce the amount of the contract below the total billed amount. Department class dimensions now populate on the project contract line based upon the project selected for the line. You can read through the rest of these. Probably the other one that I like the most is retainage fields are now available in the AR statements. So yeah, and there has been a new couple of things about project manager, start and end dates, things like that. So they have definitely been adding a lot of additional features to the product. And on the WIP screen, some of the things they've added, like seeing the under the summary, they added some billing costs and profits and year-to-date costs. So again, they've added some additional fields. I just want to make sure this WIP this WIP screen, they keep on adding more and more to it at every release based upon the feedback, which has been really great. Couple last changes. One that's been asked was vendor-based approval. So usually in the past, you saw when you went into AP bill approval policies, you can base the approval based upon value or value based upon the transaction department. They now actually gone one step further, where you could do vendor-based approvals, and then within the vendor screen itself, you could put in who the approver is for that specific vendor. So if you have that special vendor, like we have here, all those bills go through one person. We can have that set up now. And so instead of being based upon a department or based upon a value, it's now based upon the vendor and the approver who's associated to that vendor at that point. For those who are using the new fixed asset module, which is Sage came out with a new fixed asset management module to replace their original fixed asset module. And the nice thing about this is that it actually has an asset dimension on it, but they added the feature they can do transfers now and record the transfer history of an asset being moved within the environment. For our construction clients, it's just nice to have that so you can track equipment and stuff like that. It doesn't do all the stuff that, equipment, like if a lot of people are equipment tracking, but at least from a depreciation or, and again, that dimension is really nice to have within Sage Intacct. And the last thing that I was going to mention was preventing direct postings. This is something that you could always go into the GL and you could always go into the GL in your chart of accounts and say, hey, I don't like direct postings on these GL accounts. That's really helpful on accounts such as general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, inventory, where that information should be coming from the subledger, not from the general ledger. Because if you post directly to the AP or AR or inventory, then your subsidiary ledger could not match your general ledger. Well, one of the other things they've now just added is that preventing certain journals from disallow direct postings, because people have a tendency to just use the wrong journal sometimes. And so this is a nice one where it says disallow direct posting based upon specific journals. So I would turn this on for you, especially on some of the things that make sure that people, if they're making journals, just have them go through the general journal. It's a much easier approach, and that way you're not going to go, oh, that was made by mistake directly, instead of that was made by, mistakes by someone on your team. So it's good to lock that down. I would also, if you're not locking down your GL accounts for direct to postings, that's something that I would think about as well, starting, right away. You can actually do that today because that feature's been in the software forever. So those are the big changes for this release. Wanted to make sure we went through all those. I'm welcome. I don't see any questions in the system here at this point here. I know I went really fast, but just the way I am. Any questions from anyone in the group here? So again, the time that it's going to be, the big, what time is this release? Again, it's kind of like around 8-ish Pacific time on Friday night. So as I always used to joke around, if you're working on accounting on a Friday night, you got better things to do. So one other question here, do you have any idea on how on Sage future, any? So we do have kind of a roadmap. I usually do not share them on this call because they're always subject to change, and until they're actually in the release, people kind of get a little bit antsy. During our event in April, we're going to actually have Sage come out, and I feel very comfortable when they really, present that idea to the customers. Then it's a little bit more set in stone. Definitely recommend our event, but the future roadmap right now, I don't have that easily accessible to show right this second. So sorry about that. Any other questions? Well, I promised you it was a 20-minute meeting. Looks like no other questions that came in. If you do have any, feel free to send an email to myself or to your account manager here at ETHOSystems. And again, really appreciate you guys being a client. Really appreciate your time today, and have a great day. Take care, all you.